This is the Real Change Wilmington Podcast, episode 71, Behind the Bar at TinCap Hard Cider and BBQ with our guest today, Jason Vaughan.
COVID had started and we were just shut down. I'm like, there is no money. And I'm just like, man, this was a horrible decision I made. I just put my family and we're going to lose everything. It's like, what do you do? And well, we just figured this out. Let's figure this out quick. And figured out we made pieces and growlers to go. And the community got behind us and saved us, really, because, we had nothing.
What is going on, everyone? This is your host of the Real Change Wilmington Podcast, Dustin Pierce. Real Change is a positive, constructive, and lighthearted source of local news, events, and resources. On our podcast, we interview leaders of local organizations to help squash rumors and encourage a greater sense of pride in our community. We have a great episode for you today with Jason Vaughan, who owns the TinCap on Sugar Tree Street. Jason and I have become friends over the past few years just by being business owners in town and also working out at the same gym, Vital Fitness, every morning. But we have a great podcast for you talking about just the beginning of TinCap, Jason's background as a nurse, and then transitioning into starting his own business, some of the challenges he had, especially at the beginning with COVID. Later on in the podcast, we talk more about just his vision for downtown, his passion for the community, and also the Cider Fest that he had a few weeks ago at TinCap, highlighting other local cider shops in the area, which just reflects Jason's character as someone who wants the best for everyone around him. So without further ado, let's jump into the podcast and bring in Jason to get this started. Jason Vaughan, welcome to the Real Change Wilmington Podcast. You and your wife, Michelle, are the owners of TinCap Hard Cider and BBQ taproom.
Yeah.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. It is. We call it, it just used to be TinCap, and that's what most people know us by. But we found that whenever we first started, we were just hard cider, and we have evolved into doing so much more than hard cider. But a lot of people don't know that we do a lot more. So kind of putting all that out there, hey, we do barbecue, and we also have tap room, so we serve a lot more than what we make. And so we want to put that in the tap and the whole line to kind of catch people, to rebrand or get people re-educating what we do. Mm-hmm. Should throw in their entertainment, live music, and everything else, but that's even more of a mouthful.
Yeah. A couple years ago, Starbucks rebranded, and it was Starbucks coffee, and their logo now it's just Starbucks. So you could go around just TinCap again and you do whatever you want to do.
Isn't that the neatest name for for a cup of coffee, a coffee place? I am ragging a little bit on Starbucks, but imagine that if I would have named my place Cider Bucks, like, hey, just pay extra money for a cider, and they're like, Starbucks, hey, we serve regular coffee, but you can pay a lot more for it, and we're actually called Starbucks.
Yeah. It's like, I think it's funny that there's a Starbucks Road in Clinton County, or Starbuck Road.
Starbuck, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's probably originated in Clinton County, Starbucks.
This is a tangent. So I saw on social media recently that Starbucks gets a lot of money from people just using their, like, loading up their cards or whatever.
Huh. So
they have all this money in a quote unquote bank because people are just putting money not even used yet.
Yeah.
In their cards.
Buy people gift cards.
Yeah. Or their accounts in their app or whatever.
Making monand
You should do that. You should have a TinCap app with load money on too.
We could. I've thought about that before, but and we do gift cards, but I like people just coming in,
Yeah.
Hey,
it's more honest that way.
Hey, yeah, it's just, here, you give me money and I will give you this and this, or in the other order, I'll give you this and you give me a little bit of money.
Before we get into more TinCap, we start with just talking a little bit about you. So tell us where you're from and what brought you to Wilmington.
All right. Well, I am originally from Chillicothe. Well, my mom first. I'm right from my mom, but I was born and raised in Chillicothe, Ohio, and that's where I grew up. It's not too far from here. Graduated from Chillicothe High School, went to Hocking College for nursing. I'm a nurse, still have a nursing degree, and lived in Athens, Ohio. So at OU, kind of a nice party college. Did that, and then eventually moved to Sabina when I started having a family, and then I've lived here in Wilmington for the last, it's getting close to 20 years. Yeah. So that's kind of, I haven't really made it much further than that. So
What do you mean?
then like 60-mile radius or that yeah, I made it from Athens to here.
So you were married before
Mhm.
and have 2 kids?
2 kids, yep. So I got Jake, who works at TinCap. He's gonna be 25, and Josh, who's 23. So yeah.
What does Josh do currently?
Josh has been working over at the airport.
Okay.
Yeah. And taking care of our little grandbaby. So I have a granddaughter.
Nice. How did you meet Michelle?
I well, I'd been single for a while, but used to go to the old YMCA that I miss so much here in Clinton County. So Wilmington used to have the YMCA. It's where the college is now. They own that now. It was not the nicest facility, but it was probably the most utilized facility in Wilmington, I would say.
Mhm.
I mean, every weekend there would be, or throughout the week, hundreds of families and kids and stuff there. I mean, it was just a great place for family. But anyway, so I would worked at Clinton Memorial Hospital, and I would go into the gym about 5:15 and work out. And great group of guys met there, then go to the work. But I met her there, and tried to talk to her numerous times there, but she was all business and really didn't talk to her really at all.
She has that vibe about her.
She's
very friendly, but she seems like, yeah.
She made it, well, apparent to me, at least in my mind, that she was not interested, but I did get some perseverance. So, and that was probably, I mean, after I met her, it probably was close to a year before we ever started dating or even really talking. I mean, we didn't talk to for a year. So, but I don't know if I don't think I wore her down, but yeah.
You didn't wear her down.
Yeah.
No.
But we went on our first date, and really haven't spent any time apart since then. So yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You guys seem pretty happy.
Yeah.
You're always bragging about her at the gym.
Yeah. She's pretty amazing. You know, she's one of the things I value about everybody is work ethic, and she is definitely a hard worker, caring, compassionate for sure, but the work ethic is there. So,
So you were at CMH. What did you do there?
I was a nurse there, so I worked in surgery. So I worked my way up, and I became what's called a first assistant. It's pretty much, I assisted in surgeries. Way back in the day, before they had assistants or physician's assistants, they would have, on complicated surgeries or big surgeries, they would have 2 surgeons assist in surgeries. Throughout time, that, wasn't near as feasible, so that I went back and got that extra training so I could be that assistant. So I would do incisions, start surgeries, put trocars in, assist in laparoscopic procedures, do all the suturing, C-sections, toe hips, toe knees, lots of different things.
That's pretty extreme.
Yeah, I've definitely assisted in probably well over several hundred C-sections around the area, and then a lot of things. But a lot of people didn't know who I was because, of course, I was covered in masking gown. I would see people pre-op and post-op, but a lot of times you don't remember who it is because of the anesthesia and the medications. But yeah.
What was Michelle doing before TinCap?
She worked at Furno in Washington. So, and she worked there for a good long time. So kind of both was in healthcare a little bit. Yeah.
Furno's like healthcare adjacent. It's not like it supports healthcare.
Hey,
yeah.
Takes it all.
Yeah. So what are some of your guys' hobbies outside of work?
Outside of work, I wish I had more hobbies. I like to golf. I used to play sports. I used to play soccer, but I've got to the point where I'm not much of a runner, and that is a younger man's game. We play wiffle ball every once in a while. That's not really a hobby, but that's something we do for fun.
Breaking the rules is a hobby of yours.
I've been the rules. That's just
you have a motorcycle.
Yeah, a motorcycle. I do like to ride the motorcycle. I don't know. I like to stay busy. I like to work on projects. So a lot of times you can find me, even on days off, I'm at TinCap doing some building project, doing something, which I need to do a lot more of that at the house because I used to do that at the house. But TinCap for the last 7 years has taken up some more of that building time. But
you have Cappy too.
Cappy, yep. Cappy is our cider dog. He's our director of HR. So all complaints go to Cappy. We got him certified so he can hang out at TinCap. He's actually been there when we started remodeling TinCap, like I said, 7 years ago. So we've been at our new location for 6 years. So it took almost a year to remodel the building that we're in now.
Mm-hmm.
But we got Cappy whenever I started. So I'd be there with all the saws and hammers, and I'd be using the welder, people in and out all the time. And so Cappy was a pup and just grew up there with all that sound. And that's why he's our official door greeter now. So.
That makes sense why he's so comfortable.
Yeah.
Calm around everything.
Yeah. So he grew up with in a construction zone. So, which he seems to enjoy. He doesn't like the leaf blower now. That's one thing he doesn't like. But
you and Michelle work out every morning, it seems like, or most mornings at Planet Fitness.
We used to work out a lot more. She works out. She works out a lot more.
She's still there.
Yeah. I try to make a pretty good effort when I'm there I try to lift heavier and get more of that workout when I'm there. Yeah. I'm getting older. I'm going to be 49 here in a couple of days. Is that
a joke?
No, that's a true story.
You're not going to be 49.
Yeah.
How old are you going to actually be?
Yeah. I was born in 76. That's got to be right. Yeah. I will turn 50 when this country, great nation, turns 250 years old.
Young man. You're a young man still.
Well, I try to stay active. That's for sure. I'm not as young as I used to be. Like I said, I can't run anymore. That's my own fault because I just kind of gave up on running. I feel like if I would have stayed with it, I would have been fine. But I try to get on up and down the ladder almost every day. Try not to jump off the roof anymore.
Did you go on accident or?
Huh?
Did that happen on accident or did you do it on purpose?
No, just like as a young guy, I used to just climb up on things. I'm like, I'll get down there and jump with stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a little bit slower.
Shattering your knees.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I tempt it and try to jump off stuff every once in a while. Just like, okay, I can still do this. We're good. Still do this.
Got a few more years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And you, Michelle, you guys travel a lot too, though, right? Favorite travel places?
We travel some. I definitely like to travel more. Honestly, we work at TinCap. We're open there 5 days a week, and we're pretty much there every day. And then a lot of times on the days off, I pop in there and do work. But we do try. I try to get her to travel a little bit more than me. She'll do some girls' trips, and I'll do a guy's trip. I used to do a motorcycle trip with my dad and his friends. That was a lot of fun. Doing that. So yeah, we've got a trip coming up to big old Michigan here soon. So I know a lot of people think bad about Michigan, but it's up at the it's at Torch Lake, and I have to admit, Michigan coastline is beautiful. It's beautiful up there. So
hopefully it's warm.
I think so. We wondered about this because they have a beautiful lake. I'm like, their boating and actual water time must only be like a month.
Yeah,
because it's just. And I think August is maybe their warmest time, maybe. So it's got to be just like a month, because that lake freezes over solid, and they run snowmobiles across it. So Michelle and I, whenever we started TinCap, but before we started TinCap, I think maybe I was decided to do it. Maybe I'd already gotten the license, but I think I was trying to sell her on the idea a little bit more. We went, there's not that many cider companies in Ohio. We were one of there's just maybe less than a handful, maybe two before us. So we went to Michigan because they had a whole lot of them. So we went on a week-long trip through Michigan and went all around and cider places. It was a great trip.
That's pretty cool. That's before you even started selling cider out of your house?
Yeah, before we did that, just to get a little bit more research, R&D, but also just to have a nice vacation and see the places. Maybe, and you know what? I could be wrong. We actually could have I think we may have had TinCap going out of our house at that time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to start making cider?
So cider, I know. Cider is a weird one to fall on. I had, growing up with my dad way back in the 80s, my dad was a home brewer. So back before anybody was even brewing. So I would help my dad, or I thought I was helping my dad make beer, when I was a kid. It was fun, I thought it was a pretty awesome process. And so I'd make beer with my dad, and then my grandmother, she would had a very small little, I wouldn't call it a vineyard, but had several grapevines and stuff. And every year we would harvest the grapes, beautiful, great grapes. But she would also take some back and we would make wine. I didn't know I was making wine. She'd make grape jelly, but wine. And I thought it was just neat how you crush the grapes, put it in the juice, and then do a couple things to it. And we would put them in 1-gallon glass jugs and put a balloon on the cap, and we made wine out of that. And I just always thought it was a pretty cool process. And I remember canning stuff with my other grandmother. I just always thought that was a neat process, how you took something, stored it, changed it into, take the ingredients and changed it and made it into something else. So how I got into TinCap and cider would be taking that knowledge. And then when I was out of college, I started doing homebrew again. And then whenever I moved to this area, I met some doctor friends of mine, and we were doing homebrewing at the house, and we would have brew nights. So people come over and we would brew several batches of beer, drink, have a great time. And actually, at that time, my dad developed what everybody knows now is a gluten allergy. My dad was a big beer drinker, but beer was getting to be really harsh on him. So I started trying to figure out how to make some gluten-free beers. And I started out with making some oatmeal stouts and different things that were gluten-free. And then I was like, well, I'll make a ginger beer, because a ginger beer was completely gluten-free. That went over really well. And then I was like, well, how about ciders? So I started researching more about ciders, and I was like, well, yeah, they're gluten-free. And, we have apples and stuff. So just started making ciders at that point, and started making 5-gallon batches, then 15-gallon batches, then 55-gallon batches, then moved on up. And we were having friends and stuff over, and kind of turned into made a tap room and had parties, and people were just like, well, you should be doing this. And then did a lot of research found out that there wasn't anybody really doing that cider around here, and kind of found that that was a niche market after I'd played around with it for a while. So
you're doing this at your house. You had these events. You had people over, giving them cider. How did that transition into, hey, now you come to my house, I need to pay for this cider?
Yeah. I think that I was getting, maybe I was my midlife crisis. I was, close to 40. I was thinking, that time I was doing pretty good in my career. I was director of surgery at Washington Courthouse, and was making a good living doing that, enjoying it, but looking at my life and saying, what do I want to do? Do I want to do this for the rest of my life? And I looked at the stepping stones, and the CEO that worked there, he was a nice guy, really good guy. We used to have a lot of talks, and kind of talked, eventually about my career path, become director of nursing, and then work on becoming the CEO of the hospital. And just kind of got to the point where I was doing more office stuff, and being in surgery all that time, I think I worked with my hands so much, I started just not enjoying what I was doing as much. And I think healthcare was really starting to change too. I was in healthcare before we had computers, really, that you had to chart on and everything like that. You go in the doctor's office now, and there's a computer there, and they have to ask you all these questions. Back when I started, you talk to the patients. You had a whole lot of one-on-one communication. And I think healthcare was a much more respected thing back then. But I just saw it changing, and kind of came to the realization, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? Be in healthcare. I could do it, and I could make a good living and probably be happy, but saw that I might be able to start a hard cider company, brewery. And I thought, well, let's really research it and see if I can do this. And come to find out, the way that our house was laid out, I didn't really have to make a lot of modifications in order to get a winery license. That comes from the state of Ohio, so that's not even a local municipality. So I ended up talking to the wife and saying, we can do this and just see what happens. And I've been reluctant, but she agreed, and we passed. We ended up getting a winery license. The winery, so hard cider is a wine, so we have to have a wine license to make hard cider. And so we were Clinton County's first winery, I'd say. No, that's not true. The Roush's Brewery might have been before us. They might have. So, yeah. So that's how we started at the house. It was a great place to start, to test the waters to see if it would work. But we changed our basement into a tap room, still there, have 10 taps on the wall, and we just sold hard ciders. We would have food trucks come out every once in a while. Local music would come out,
How did you announce that to the community that this was a thing?
I
And
think it was just
how did they accept
Facebook.
that? Because it was like someone's house to go into.
There was some pushback,
Yeah.
because, and we did have to go to the Board of Zoning,
Okay.
and get that approved, and it was approved. I think there was some pushback, but it was just for a temporary use. And the way our house is, even though we're in town, we have about 5 acres, so it's kind of away from the neighbors. You can do a lot of things without impacting the neighbors. But
So your zoning was temporary. So is it still zoned that you could do that there? Or was it like, hey, we're going to test this out. We might get a building at some point. So
I think we did it as a temporary, but I can't remember if we ever put it on how long. Maybe it was just yearly that we had to invite. So I'm sure that it's off the books now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like you would have to renew it every year.
Yeah.
You wanted to do it because of, hey, I got you. Okay.
But it was received really well. And I knew that hard cider in itself was kind of hard sell nationwide. Not a hard sell. There's people that love hard cider. A lot of people have never heard of hard cider, don't know what it is. And then people just don't like it. So, but it went over really well. And a lot of people found out they do like hard cider. And funny thing is, I mean, a lot of people were like, I've never heard of hard cider. I don't like it. But I'm like, one time that was the #1 consumed beverage in America. So even more than water.
Hard cider?
Yeah. Well, I would say cider, and that's what they used to just call it, cider. So in recent years,
there was no
hard cider.
No such thing as like other cider. It was just always hard.
Yeah. So a little history lesson for everybody. Everybody knows about Johnny Appleseed. Most people have been told about Johnny Appleseed, how he would travel around. And at that time, whenever our country was trying to become a country, Johnny Appleseed and others, they were pretty much giving away land if you could prove that you had crops on it, or giving away really cheap. So Johnny Appleseed saw that, and what he would do, he would sell you several apple trees. And as long as you had, I think it was 2 or 3 fruit-bearing trees or crops on there, you could get the land, because that showed that you're going to be there and going to be established. And you could get the land. Now, back then, apples were not, people didn't really eat apples, didn't have apple pie. Like the old saying, an apple a day. It used to be, I think, from my understanding, a cider a day. So a lot of these people, if you think about it, came over from other nations where wine was very prolific. So where everybody drank wine. Well, we didn't have grapes here, but we had started putting in apple trees. The apple trees were here. So what they would do was just cultivate the apples, crush them. And it's like every farm had a cider press. So they would press the apples, put it in the big 55-gallon wooden barrels, and you would dip your cup in that, and you would drink that, because if you didn't have water on your farmland, was what you drank. And as the time would go on, that would ferment, and that's how it become alcoholic and become hard cider. Yeah, so back, they didn't have beer. Beer was not a thing back whenever we were starting this country. Our founding fathers, you'll see some quotes and stuff from them, Ben Franklin, different ones, how they would go to the not the tap rooms back then, but they would go to the pubs, and it would be cider on tap a lot of times, so they would drink cider.
What was one of your favorite memories from when that was at your house?
Oh, at the house?
Or favorite stories?
I know there was a lot of fun times, and it met a lot of, I mean, it was a neat way to, and I guess this kind of went with my idea that community. I mean, I think that TinCap really just met community. It just brought so many people from our area together in one place. That was kind of my view whenever I decided to do that here locally. But I'd say that definitely did not go off without hitches. I mean, on rainy nights, man, I mean, I have a pretty big yard, but you get 30, 40 cars parked in the grass and everything. So having to pull some cars out here and there, and people getting stuck. Those were, looking back, I can laugh at it, but during the time it was a little bit more frustrating. So, but yeah.
Tearing your yard up, wasting all your time.
Yeah. So, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, really, it was just kind of like, hey, come on over to the house for a cookout. That's kind of like how it was. And, have your friends come over and you have some drinks and watch the game or watch something. So it was kind of neat.
I think you saying that's kind of like how I see your attitude at TinCap now. It's like you treat that as like your hangout place, and you're very welcoming to people who come by, and
Yeah.
I think you carry that mentality to the brick and mortar.
Yeah, it is. And that's kind of with our design and everything that we did there. Just kind of wanted to make it feel like an extension of our home, our living room, hey, so welcome in there.
So was your plan always that it was like a testing ground, and if it worked, you were going to have a brick and mortar store?
Yeah, I guess I'm a dreamer. I've always been kind of a dreamer or planner. And I had big high hopes in the beginning to become, I was like, if we can sell hard cider in Wilmington, Ohio, we can sell it anywhere in Ohio. So I was like, this would be a no-brainer, easy to do. And Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus, the bigger cities. And I kind of had the aspirations to become like the largest hard cider company in Ohio. And I think it's still obtainable.
Who is the largest one now?
On books, it's probably Angry Orchard because it's owned by Sam Adams. I don't know if they honestly make anything here, but I'm trying to think who it would be now. But I'm sure there's probably.
Are they largest just nationally or largest in Ohio?
I think both. I think both.
But they're not from Ohio.
Correct.
Got it.
Well, Sam Adams is out of. So a lot of these companies, Cincinnati is where they are distributed out of. Cincinnati distribution. Don't know if they're all made there. I should know that a little bit better, but I don't. So I think there'll always be a Ohio company, since that's one there. But actually, now that I say that, New York is where they have their big orchards for Angry Orchard, and before that, they have probably that's where their actual everything happens.
So you had big dreams.
Big dream.
How did it? What were steps you took to get the building?
So yeah, never planned on staying at the house. It was just a testing ground, and then we looked at properties. At that time, my kids were still in high school, or kids are still in high school, so kind of I thought about moving towards Cincinnati, Dayton, and doing it and driving back and forth. But, we also thought that Wilmington needed a place like us just to have, like I said, that community. Thought it was lacking at that time. So we just tousled around doing it in Wilmington or in Clinton County. Got to the point where we started looking at farms, and then we were looking at downtown properties. We found the building on Sugar Tree, or it was introduced to us by people from city council, maybe at that time. Mark McKay, I think, was one of them that helped us because he was also the downtown Wilmington that would purchase probably, it's called the DWCIC. But CIC, yeah.
Community Improvement Corporation?
Yeah. So they had that property at that time. And actually, it used to be, before we moved in, it was Quality. So the t-shirt place, and they moved actually across the street from where we're at now. That building was available. I was not sold on that building right away. To me, it seemed like it was going to be too small. And because I was looking at it with my big dreams, and hey, I'm going to have a lot of space. I got to manufacture a lot of cider. So we went back and forth between that, and we were looking at a farm on 73. I really liked it. And I think it had 50 acres, a big pond. It was also where it's not the Clinton County Airport, but it had its own airstrip there.
Really? On the farm?
Farm. Wow. And it had a couple houses and airplane hangars. It sounded like it should be really expensive, but it was affordable. It was affordable. And I kind of thought that would be great. We could do weddings. We could do all kinds of events, there.
Different revenue streams.
Have that farm, feel. But we thought so we were weighing between that one, which I really liked, the farm property, and then weighing where we're at now. And then it kind of came down, well, Sugar Tree Street was not really a highly thought of area at that time. So we thought, well, we could improve this downtown area if we do this here. And we had thoughts of the Murphy Theater would be right behind us. Hopefully we could work with the Murphy Theater and do things community-based, do things together, and kind of help have some of that revenue income coming in from the patrons of the Murphy Theater. So we end up settling on, or choosing to do the one on Sugar Tree Street where we're at now instead.
Can I ask you how much it cost? I'm sure it's like public. Whatever.
Well, we end up
when you bought it.
We were negotiating the building.
Yeah.
And there was a city parking lot, right where our patio is now. That used to be a parking lot. And I think we were going to buy the building, and I told him, I said, I need the parking lot as well. And the city at that time was not willing to sell the parking lot originally. So I told him I was just not interested. I need the parking lot. And I remember talking to some of the city officials at that time, and they finally said, well, yeah, we'll work on selling you the parking lot as well. And then they're like, but you can't even park that many cars there. And I said, well, I'm not going to park any cars there. And they were like, what do you mean? I said, well, it's going to turn into a patio. And at that time, there was nothing really like that in Clinton County.
Because the GD didn't have their patio yet.
Yeah, they didn't have that patio extension.
But Generations, I guess.
Generations did have a they might have had their patio. Yeah. And at one, B-Dubs had the back patio.
Sure.
Yeah. But, if you come to TinCap now, you see the stage, you see it's pretty large. It's a pretty big,
pits and
covered patio.
Yeah, stage, yeah.
Yeah. And so that was kind of my hopes and dreams. So that, I don't think they realized the potential of a patio. Because in my mind, I was like, well, if I need that hole for seating, I need it for entertainment, I need it for all that. So, and I think the final price, it was right around $150 for the building, and it is a good price, but this was also 7 years ago or 8 years ago now, when buildings like we actually put another offer on a building down there. We put a pretty similar offer in, and that building ended up selling for like under $50,000, and another one sold for like under $50,000 around there.
Yeah, commercial properties just don't seem to be worth as much for some reason.
Yeah. So at that time, even at that time, 150 was like, this might be a little high for this.
Oh yeah.
Where I'm buying, because there was nothing. So now the property values, since we've been there, I tried to have one of my neighbors make me an offer on one of his buildings, and I think he quoted me around $750 for the building. So I'm like
I raised your property.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
A deal.
I was like, man, yeah. So that's property value has went up.
So, thanks to you. That's like a good and bad thing, yeah,
because we're at the point now where we really need to expand.
You could move locations and sell that to somebody else, and someone else could have a smaller shop there.
Yeah.
Bigger.
We're open to ideas because we live a mile away. There's a lot of conveniences to what we've done. Plus, it's we put our heart and soul in there. It's we did use some contractors like Maturka. But we had our staircase in there. One of my good friends made that. We spent a lot of sleepless nights, hard work, building what we did there.
You could always still own it and then
that's true.
Lease it out, I guess.
That's true.
Be able to get more.
Yeah. I'm getting to be almost 50, so
other streams of income.
Have my son run that or run the next one.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
But so we are out of space. If you look at the back of our building right now, we probably have 200 to 300 kegs back there. I'm getting ready to put in a racking system because we can't store kegs inside. These are empty kegs, not but we're getting ready to double the size of our walk-in cooler. We're trying to get every inch of usable space out of our existing building before we get another one. And we have looked. We were actually in the talks for about a year setting up a new one in Chillicothe. And that one, they just approached us with that, and it would have been really nice in their downtown. Their downtowns, they put a lot of work. The city's really put a lot of work, and the business owners have down there. But we would have they have 50 West there, which is a pretty big brewery, but we would have probably almost doubled or tripled, probably at least tripled the size of what they had there. And it would have been pretty big there. So,
yeah.
But we end up pulling out of it. So,
any other ideas right now? Locations?
Yeah. We just keep on looking. If we just did manufacturing alone in a building, it would make sense to keep that in Clinton County, because I can distribute just like R&L or any of the other places. We can hit Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus so quickly and easily here. If I was to build another manufacturing plus use a taproom, kind of our model that we have now, it would make sense to do a Springboro, Mason, some of the outskirts. Like we were talking about before the podcast, the places in Dayton, downtown Dayton. I've looked at a couple properties downtown Dayton, and you can get great deals for some properties downtown Dayton. But the foot traffic in downtown Dayton, other than whenever the Dragons are playing or something, it's not there as like it used to be. So
yeah. Alternatively, you could just dig deeper in Wilmington and make it a destination place, bring the traffic here.
Yeah. And I have honestly thought, I'll drive out Roundback sometimes. And I'm like, man,
Mm-hmm.
because we do a lot of entertainment. We have live music 3 nights a week, and we're all doing other things. So I have had ideas of doing a music venue in Clinton County and working with, I like country music more than is the genre that I like the most, but, start working, coming out a little bit more in the Nashville, the North. Although Nashville is now a music city. It's not country music. It's just Music City, USA.
Yeah.
With us being so close to, like I said, Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus, having that draw.
People in those cities do like to get out sometimes and travel a bit.
They do. And, Cincinnati is going to be building some other music venues. But if you think about it, most all the music venues in Cincinnati are downtown, harder to get to, harder to park. It's just convenience factor from what people that I've polled. It would be very nice to have one towards Lebanon, Mason, in Clinton County, because Clinton County could pull people from Dayton pretty easily.
Yeah, for sure. What were some of the major challenges of renovating your space? It was quality before. You did a decent amount of work.
Yeah.
It looks really nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
What were some of the challenges?
Well, we used Maturka renovations. That helped. We also used plumbing was probably the major issue. Plumbing was the major issue. You go from having, I think that facility had one bathroom and really no kitchen or anything there, to turning it into an actual, like a brewery where you need tons of drainage, tons of water, and then you also need restrooms for the patrons. And then, of course, we put in a kitchen. So plumbing was probably the largest thing.
You have 2 restrooms, like one upstairs, one downstairs. You have so many sinks.
Yeah, we have tons of sinks. That's
the health department requirement.
Requirements. But thankfully, one of my friends, he is a plumber, just retired. So Jerry, I'm not going to throw out his last name so people don't call him, but he is retired now. So Jerry, he wasn't retired at the time. Jerry was not an original plumber, but we had another original plumber, and they were coming out of Xenia, Ohio, and just could not get them to come and tell us what to do next steps and everything. And of course, and I didn't say this earlier, but whenever I decided to do TinCap, I had been a public employee as a nurse for almost 25 years. So I played into Public Employment Retirement Services, PRS, for that time. So I took out all of my retirement to build TinCap.
Oh my gosh.
So that was, I just, so that was everything. So everything I had is TinCap, everything I had. So I was on a time frame, and that money only lasts so long, and things are, for construction and everything's really expensive. So at that time, the plumber just was not getting back to us, not doing what we needed in a timely manner. And I actually started talking to Jerry about my issue. I knew that Jerry was a plumber. I did not know he did commercial work. And this guy, I tell you what, he just said, I'll be right over. And I wasn't even telling him, I'd like to get help or anything. He was just so. And that guy, he came over. He's like, I'll draw up plans and we'll get this done. And within that week, we were doing stuff.
Yeah.
And before that, I had already cut up concrete, jackhammered, and dug up lines, and to expose what we had. And so he came over and just said, yeah, this is what we need to do, and drawed it up and got it approved by the health department. And then he had obviously a lot of other jobs, so we hired a company to come in and cut up the concrete, and then I agreed to jackhammer and clear everything out, and that was a process. So that building, we found out that it was sitting on top of 2 other buildings. So there's 3 layers of concrete on that building. So you cut through the top layer, a little bit of gravel, if not any gravel, then it's sitting on another concrete pad, then another concrete pad. It was just like, oh man, that was, so that was probably the most challenging thing of it, because it was just, that was
sink. Like you don't almost working, they get more work to do and then more work to do. Like, when's it going to end?
Yeah. So I got a picture in the bathroom of me with jackhammering in the men's bathroom. And I used to have a bottle on top there that we glued to there that we found. And it was a Cincinnati distillery called Magnolia. So the old distillery used to be in Cincinnati. We found that bottle under one of those layers of concrete. And so it was like over 100 years old, this bottle. So I was like, okay, we'll put that up there. But somebody stole it.
Dang, I knew I was going to say that.
I was like, man, I had to work really hard for that bottle.
Man, what a...
that happens.
Yes, I guess. How did you guys choose the name TinCap?
TinCap. So we went through a lot of names. Sure, as like many business owners do. Wanted to try to put our name in there. Last name's Vaughan. We tried to do Vaughan Cider, Vaughan. My wife's maiden name was Klein. Tried to do some different things with that. Nothing really stick the way we wanted it. I wanted it kind of short, easy to remember, even though I don't know if TinCap's easy to remember. But we decided back to Johnny Appleseed. I mean, as a childhood, I remember Johnny Appleseed always had that metal pot on his head, and it's called a TinCap. And so that's how we got TinCap.
Man, that's such a good story.
Yeah.
Why didn't you put that like in your logo or something?
Well, so I did. So the first, this funny story. So the first logo I drew up, and I kind of did it myself. And this was back before we had as much computer stuff as what we do now. It'd be a whole lot easier. It was tougher back then.
Back
or at least
then,
I didn't know.
7 years ago?
7 years ago.
Back in the stone.
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
Back before AI.
Oh, okay.
But I drew up this logo, and it was an apple. We, had eyes and a face, and it had the hat on backwards. And then I started doing some research. Well, there is a minor league baseball team in Fort Wayne, Indiana, called the TinCaps. I did not know that, so it's not really that far away. And they had that logo almost identical that I drew. Never even knew who they were.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I can't use that. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So
it's a good story though.
Yep. TinCap.
TinCap. You guys also do a lot of weekly events.
Yeah.
How have those evolved?
I've always loved music. So when we first opened TinCap, I should go back to that. So we were open. Once again, I used all my savings, everything I had. Not savings, that's actually my retirement.
Yeah.
Used all that money.
Did it make you stressed out during that time? Like, were you like irritable or?
Yeah. Well, I mean, still had my license, so it's like I could go back to work. But yeah, you're like, this is my retirement. This is my life. This is everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was stressful. Still stressful. But so we were open. Things were going well at TinCap. And at that time, I think we were just mostly selling hard ciders. I remember the day we opened, or the weekend we decided to open. We finally got our new license. They came in, inspected our place, everything passed, and told the wife, I'm excited. And I was like, hey, we need to open this weekend. And I want to say it was a third Friday. They used to have a third Friday parties, the mural. She's like, oh, we can't open this weekend. We're not ready. And I was like, we're never going to be ready.
Yeah.
But our bank account says we have to open. And she's like, well, we'll be too busy. And I was like, well, I don't know if we'll be that busy or not. I said, but I agreed to open up the day we said we open up. And we wouldn't post anything because this Facebook was one of the things that, only things that you had at that time. And agreed to do that like an hour before we opened. So short little post, went out an hour before we opened. And then I remember we were packed. I mean, it was great. But like she said, we were not prepared for it, but things went well, and we got people drinks, but we didn't line up a food truck. It was just, hey, here's drinks. And people were just checking out the space, everything like that. Larry Roberts, local guy. I remember he pulled me over at one time, and he's like, hey, you mind if I order some pizzas for everybody? And I said, if you want to, I mean, that'd be great. And he ended up, it was probably 30 to 50 pizzas he ended up ordering, and he's like, hey, I'll tell everybody that you got them for him. I said, no. I said, no.
What a good guy.
Yeah.
What a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. But that helped things,
Yeah.
It smoothed things over too. So that was pretty awesome of him. So
that's cool. He saw a need. Oh, people are here.
Yeah.
Need some food, man. Do you mind if I just get food for him? That's awesome.
And he donated, you'll see some barn timbers around our main bar. And at our very low, where our garage doors are, he donated those barn timbers to us from one of the barns that was falling apart on his property. So that and the metal roofing that's behind our bar too. So yeah.
I think you told me before that you didn't originally plan on having food But the health department, since you had an ice machine, made you get a higher license,
Yeah,
health license.
yeah.
So you're like, I might as well sell food, sell the license.
Yeah.
Is that the story, or?
That's the story. Yeah. And like me, I came from a healthcare background, but it's the first time I've ever owned a business. So, there's so many things you just don't know. I was telling my son this just the other day. I like looking at some of my building projects from back when I started till now, and all the things that I've done. I'm like, man, we've learned so much, and like our cider making Nebraska, growing. So I'm like, we've learned so much in the last, well, I guess it's been 9 years, 8 years, 9 years, something like that. But yeah, so we did not intend on having food. We just want to use food trucks. We were just going to use food trucks every day we were open, and we kind of did that when we first started. But we wanted to have ice machines. And at that time, the health department said, if we have ice machines, we want to be on a certain tier as a restaurant. And at that time, we're doing that big plumbing project. There was pretty much no way of getting around this. So it wasn't changing. It's like, well, if I'm going to be scheduled as a restaurant, I'm going to put in a small kitchen then. I'm going to do that then. And so that's what we did. It just took out one of the storage areas that we were going to use for stuff and turned that into a kitchen. And we bought a pizza oven right off the bat and some other things so we could do that. And then kind of always thought, eventually we would do barbecue.
You bought a pizza oven? How much was that expensive?
Yeah, this one was about $7,000.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I remember. It was $7,000. I was like,
not about
yeah,
it.
Yeah, it was $7,000
of my dollars.
Yeah, I was like, because I mean, like I said, I didn't have any money. I had money and it was gone.
It was gone.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so we still were using food trucks, even when we did pizzas. But at that time, now you look in Wilmington, there's a lot of food trucks. At that time, there was one food truck that was starting, which was barbecue, which we used them, Dubtown Smokers. They're not here now because they came out to the house. And I think all the other food trucks were from out of town. So most of them are Dayton, Cincinnati. And what we ran into at TinCap was we used food trucks, but then they got to be unreliable.
Yeah.
And it would reflect on our business.
Right.
They found a better gig in Cincinnati, better gig in Dayton, closer where they're at. More people. And I get it, but I would have liked to had a heads up. And so it started reflecting on our business because the food trucks wouldn't show up. And so we decided to go all out and put our full kitchen in and do the barbecue.
Wait, so you did barbecue at the beginning, or was it just...
No, just pizzas at the beginning. Then we kind of extended off of pizzas, and then eventually
because barbecue is newer, right? Newer-ish.
We probably bought that smoker probably going on 3 years. And it definitely was we didn't release barbecue for another probably 6 months or so after.
Did you upgrade a smoker? Did you have a smoker, then you got a better one?
No.
Okay.
I think that's the first one we bought. I'm trying to remember what else we did. Maybe it's been longer.
Yeah.
It could have been longer.
How did your pizzas start? Like, how did you decide what ingredients and how it's going to look and taste?
This is another thing that happened, I guess. So, the pizza oven, like we didn't use the pizza oven. We had we had everything in there, but like I said, when we first started out, we were just doing food trucks. We didn't know how to use pizza oven. We knew how to use it. We learned,
didn't know how to use it.
We did. We learned how to use it. We made it, but we didn't want to hire the kitchen staff and everything. We were relying on this. But that pizza oven and the kitchen did end up saving us because back to when we first opened up this location, completely out of money. Things are going great. Talked to my wife. I'm like 6 months in. I'm like, hey, we're going to have to hire a lot more staff. I said, this thing's going really well. We're going to have to hire staff. We'll have to hire some key positions. Or do you want to be more part of the business? Because this time she's still working at Furno. And came to the conclusion that she would quit her job and take on more of the management positions. She quit her job. And then within a week, COVID had started. So we were pretty much out of money. COVID started. She had just quit her job.
What year did you open?
I said 2018.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. 2018.
Yeah.
And then we had a 6 month stint. So that goes into 2019, somewhere around there. And then within another week, our governor gets on there and says, we're closed. And just closed our business down. And now I got my whole income, my wife's sole income, and my son's sole income. And we were just shut down. I'm like, there is no money. And people were like, well, COVID relief. Well, guess what? we did not qualify for COVID relief because we just started a business. You had to have a business, and you had to show employment records for the last year. What people make, well, guess what? I didn't pay myself anything. I was running a business, didn't pay my wife anything. So now I spent a ton of money, Also, if I would have taken out my retirement that week or the next week, they also changed the rules that it wouldn't be taxed. It wouldn't be penalized. So I could have taken all that out. So
I think I remember that. Yeah.
yeah. So I got over 60% penalized.
Yeah.
And then repenalized again for that taxes for that.
Man, you're still here. And how did you survive all that?
Well, so that brings us back to how that pizza oven actually saved us. So we're shut down. Wife quit her job. And I'm just like, man, this was a horrible decision I made. I just put my family and our everything and livelihood, everything, and we're going to lose everything. It's like, what do you do? And I was like, well, we just figure this out. Let's figure this out quick. And figured out that we could open and sell pizzas. This time when our COVID was at its prime, you could come pick up a pizza and a growler to go. That's what we came up with. And at that time, it was pretty much myself, the wife, and Jake. And we made pizzas. And Cappy. And pretty much every pizza box, except for when we got really busy, we would write some positive message or some quote or something funny. And we made pizzas and growlers to go. And the community got behind us and saved us, really, because, we had nothing. So we got lucky there. And that's pizza that will save us. And the community saved us. So.
Yeah. I think you probably also saved the community too, because everyone was really sad during that time and probably liked to go out and get something.
Yeah.
So it was a mutual saving.
Yeah. And we would have some friends that would come by, and it was such a weird time that was. But I remember we'd have a drink at the end of the night, and usually a shot of some kind of liquor or something like that. Hey, made it through another day. But I was always like, hey, take that shot and don't just suck it down. Just kind of swish, gargle, gargle, and feed it out. But the wife and I and Jake, our son, we never got COVID during that whole time till like the next year. Yeah, and we were around tons of people and everything. So, but yeah, never know what you can survive until you're thrown into it. So. Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah. So that's, I was like, man, so yeah, we have everything in the business. But yeah, in hindsight, not that it was a good thing, but it definitely showed us that, hey, we can survive a lot. We being down to your last pennies and have everything, and then told the only way you could make money is, hey, you can't do it. And I was like, oh, yeah. So.
Yeah.
Came through it.
I'm glad you survived.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. Made it stronger. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We usually ask people, like, what's a defining moment of your life in the beginning? I just totally forgot to ask it. But that was a pretty good story, I feel like.
And there's some other good things that came out of that COVID too. So that's how I got the stage. Like I said, I got to stay busy. And so during that, I was like, well, I was on the patio. I was like, well, how about I build a stage? And so I built that while COVID was going on. We also worked on getting the Dora done during the tail end of COVID. So the Dora, the downtown designated outdoor refreshment area, we got that passed. And that's a big deal for a town of this size, especially. That can create a lot of community involvement in the downtown if we use it correctly. So,
yeah, I was at the Chamber's monthly meeting for May, I think. And they had the Port Authority there. One person asked, how do we bring businesses back downtown? And the Port Authority is basically explaining how downtowns these days are mostly just entertainment hubs. They're not going to have the Walmarts downtown,
Yeah.
So like to that point, Dora is important because downtowns, if you're going to be thriving, are going to have businesses that are restaurants and little shops. So we need that.
Yeah. And we do have some nice boutiques. We have some nice shops.
Yeah, we do, for sure.
People, we need, we have some banks, but the days of people going to the bank to cash their checks to go downtown, those days are long and over. But yeah, like you said, the people that go downtown, they want entertainment. And I will say that our downtown, I wish people, especially that haven't given it a try for a while, would try it again, because it's always getting improved. And when we go to Lebanon's beautiful downtown. We go to Loveland, which has a lot going there for it. But our downtown, there's some nights where it's just the wife and I will take a little walk around using the Dora, and we'll go from place to place. We'll have live music at our place. They may have live music at the Eagles, at the Escape, the gym. And it's like this whole downtown, there's really a lot going on. You have good restaurants, and there's more coming. Now you have the newest addition would be Trail House, and I think they've been a great addition.
Yeah, that's super nice.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely improved that area. And even though a little trail entryway now has the little flashing sign, like it's really nice.
Yeah, that was much needed. So if you haven't been down in downtown, give it a try again.
Yeah.
Even if you're not into drinking, I get that. I get that a lot about TinCap. When I go to Kroger, which I do often, or Lowe's and Ace, I always wear TinCap stuff. Like, TinCap, I've heard of that. You ever been? No, I don't drink. I'm like, you go to the General Never? Yeah, I've been to the General Never. I'm like, well, this is like a restaurant. We're not forcing you to drink. But that's part of that, why we're doing that whole rebranding process, because
maybe that's just because Wilmington has an older population. That's a different mentality.
It might be, but I tell you, I love it. TinCap. No, this is one of my best moments at TinCap. Like, when we just had one of these moments just the other night, even during the college pub crawl. So we had the college pub crawl Saturday.
I saw that, or Molly saw that Corey Cocktail was out with them.
Yeah.
President of college.
And I think they were coming around 7. No, it was probably around 8:00 at night. But leading up to that, we were open for lunch. So we had families all over the place. We had people there. Then later as the night went on, our band started. It usually starts around 7. And so at 7:00, band's playing. I see a group of people that are in their upper 70s plus, and they're dancing. Then we get kids that are actually, like, they're just in their chairs, just dancing, moving around with the music. Although whenever they're walking around, sometimes I see these older people dancing. And then I see out on our dance floor right in front of the stage, it's not really, I guess it's a dance floor, little kids just dancing, having a great time with their moms and dads. And then you see the group of college kids. At this time, they were just respectfully just sitting off to the side, just dancing and having a good time. I'm like, man,
yeah,
that's an amazing moment whenever you see something you built and that group of people all enjoying it. And I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome. And I actually sat back with the watch. It's like, hey, just look at this.
Yeah, I'd be proud of that too. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So that's an awesome point. Probably, you talked about your vision already for expansion and what you got that currently. And then I guess we kind of discussed some rumors and stigmas too about how people think that, oh, it's just beer, so I can't go there for whatever.
Yeah.
Is there any other like stigmas or rumors that?
We get a lot of that. And that's why I'm trying to not rebrand the whole downtown, but just trying to make people rethink about the downtown in general. I think that a lot of people from, and I don't mean to interject on this, but like Clarksville, people that are out the other school district, they have options to move towards Cincinnati, Mason, Lebanon a lot easier instead of coming to the downtown area here. And I'm trying to get people to think about us again and say, hey, not just TinCap, but our whole downtown, it really has a lot to offer. And to say, hey, just give our downtown more of a chance.
Yeah. There's like a debate, I don't know if you agree or not, but like there's a debate of like, do we make the downtown more walkable or more like parking friendly? Yeah.
And I definitely, I see both sides of the coin. I think it needs to be walkable. I think that I love our city. I love our downtown, but I feel that our city definitely needs to invest in itself. If you look at these downtowns that I'm talking about, at this point, it's not even a risk for your city to invest in its downtown. It's been point proven, if you invest in your downtown, you make it nice, you take care of your sidewalks, you create a district, that money and that population will come back to you. It's been proven all around us. So I do feel like you can have both things. You can have parking and walkability, but we have to have people that make these decisions willing to make the decision and just do it. Yeah. Like I said, it's not much of a risk at this point investing in your downtown.
Like, do we or don't we? It's like, no, we definitely should.
Yeah. Like, and I think I've given you this analogy before, and I think I've said this to somebody in the city council before, which I'm friends with a lot of people in city council. I like them, like to work with them. But I gave the analogy. I'm like, hey, have you ever sold a house? If anybody goes to sell a house or a car, do you just leave it as is before you put it on the market? Or are you cleaning that house up? Are you fixing everything that's broken? Are you making it as nice as you can? Well, you're always going to make it as nice as you can, get the word out. I said, like it or not, our city is always for sale. And what I mean by that is everybody that's coming through our city is thinking about, could I live here? Would I want to work here? Would I want to start a business here? Would I want my family to come here? They're thinking about that when they're driving through. So in a sense, your city is always for sale. So your city, especially your downtown, should represent what you want. It should be beautiful. Like our courthouse, kept well, nice and everything like that. But our sidewalks should be cleanish. The lights should be well lit. Everything should be very well manicured. Because that person driving through thinking about starting a business here, they don't see that there's that great potential. They'll keep on driving.
Yeah. There's definitely some things like you're saying, like the lights, like it seems like a very simple, low cost fix. We could maybe make a plan to like, what's this year to fix all the lights?
And
traffic signs and stuff.
And I know that there's probably bureaucracy. There's tons of blue tape, whatever. And I've talked to the mayor and I've talked to different people who say, oh, we don't own the lights, it's AES. I guess I'm different. I'm a business owner, a small business owner. My light's out. What am I going to do?
Yeah, you're going to take responsibility.
I'm going to go change that light real quick.
Yeah.
And guess what? If I have to change 10 street lights, then I send the bill to AES.
Or you dispute it because it's your area.
Yeah, that's right. You know what? I've made my place better.
Yeah.
And which I've had to eat a lot of costs that I feel like somebody else should have taken care of. But you know what? I've got to make my place as presentable as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you just do. Because if you value your community and you value your downtown, you take care of it.
Yeah. I can go on and on about that. So what's a quote or piece of wisdom that's helped guide you that you would want to share with other people?
I just heard this one the other day. It was, so it's not mine, but when you die with memories, not dreams.
Oh man, that is good.
Yeah.
Die with memories. Molly is like, look, you have to roll your eyes at me. Like,
I knew you were going to like it. As soon as he said it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Like, oh.
Yeah. I thought it was really good too. I was like, man, I was going to write it down, but it's like it just stuck.
It was so good it just stuck. Yeah. Die with memories, not dreams.
Yep.
Man.
Yep.
Love it. So, in general, at the end of the podcast, we'll ask about a positive or constructive change that you'd want to see in our community. I know you have a lot of ideas for making things better.
Mm.
What's like one thing that you would like to see our city do to improve?
I would say a very pivotal thing that I think that this is probably more a county, community, or city would be another community rec center. Mm. I think a community rec center would be very pivotal in our growth. We have a lot of jobs here, a lot of great paying jobs here. Our youth need that.
Yeah.
Families need that. I've fought against and lost against some councilmen, not city councilmen. I guess this would be more county, about getting community rec center but it's a pivotal thing that, like I said, our city's for sale, our county's for sale all the time. And if you look at all the surrounding communities right now, Xenia, Hillsborough, Lebanon, they all have nice YMCAs. They have things, growth that are family oriented. That would be something that's very pivotal.
We have a rec center currently in Wilmington. It's Walmart, you know? You just go like, that's the only meeting spot for everybody.
And it's just, there has to be grants out there. I know that
there has to be. We have rich people here that would want to put their name on something or donate.
We had money from the sale of the hospital. And that money was supposed to be utilized for community health.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know we don't have anything to show that was, where's that? I want to point at that object and say, how did this affect community health?
Mm-hmm.
So it was $40 million, but I think there has to be grants out there. But once again, we just need people that have that foresight and that drive to want to get that. I mean, there has to be grants out there, statewide, nationwide, that would help build rec center. We have enough land. The county, the city has enough land. We have enough parkland to build a community rec center. And at this point, if you get some funding from the state federal, I could almost guarantee the large corporations, Amazon and other things would get on.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because they could put their name on something,
yes,
like Amazon,
and this is
pool or something,
and that would be such a community pull and a drive. I mean, it's just at this point, it's just needed, and it's needed for our youth, a positive outlet.
It sounded like in 2019 the community was trying to partner with the county and some other villages to get a joint recreation village or something, and it went on the ballot and it failed.
It did. I don't know if it has to be a ballot issue.
No, yeah.
We put it on a ballot, and you're never going to get all the information from either side's not going to get the information. But once again, I feel like this is something that if you value, you just look at the surrounding communities around you. At this point, it should be a no-brainer that our youth and our community deserves that. Because, I mean, a community rec center isn't just about a basketball court or anything like that. I mean, the YMCA was that, but like our youth athletic programs have suffered because of the loss of the YMCA, but also just our community health in general has suffered because of that. Now, we do have a parks does a nice job of keeping the park clean and everything like that, but you can't use that year round. A community rec center can be so many more things than just a place to lift weights, a place to play basketball or something like that. But it's a place where the community gathers. It can be in use conjunction with the vocational schools, the colleges, to have classrooms, meeting spaces. It can be so much more.
Yeah.
I think that we don't bat an eye when we spend money on the courthouse or something like that, which I think that we need to do. But those are, I don't want to come off sound mean, whatever. You can have a court in any building.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen courts happen in offices, and
yeah.
But the community would definitely value immensely from a rec center.
Yeah, that's like one of my big reasons for the charter city situation is so our leadership has a long-term view, not just a 4-year view of what can be done, but maybe in 8 years, what can we do as a city?
Yeah.
Whether it's a YMCA or like a city-run facility, but there's options. There's options to get it done.
Yeah, and it's like at this time, at this point, you don't have to do that much work to figure out how other people have done it, because it's been done so many times and so close to you. At this point, you don't want to be the last person on the bus or off the bus, but at this point we are on that.
Yeah,
and like we do have great gyms. I go to Vital. I love Vital, but there's things that they don't, nor should they have to offer all the things that a community rec center offers.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's a draw more than just health. Like it's, I think employers look at that as in the community and be like, this community has a rec center.
Employers look at it. Families looking. Think about how many people here commute in the over 5. What was it? It's getting close to almost as many people commute here. I'm trying to remember what last meeting was, but it was in the thousands and thousands of people commute here to work. And there's a reason why they don't live here. They work here, but why aren't they living here? And that's one of the reasons. And I will also say, a lot of people say there's a lack of things to do in Wilmington. Well, I'm doing my part. I'm really trying to change that. I'm doing my part.
Yeah.
Like I said, us ourselves at TinCap, we do events, not just at TinCap. We shut down the street and we do community events. We try to do stuff, and it brings people out. People love to see that. But we're trying to change that. But it is a mentality or a thought process that there's nothing to do in Wilmington. And
I like your thing about it doesn't need to be a ballot issue. Like you have enough. It doesn't need to have. We don't need to do a study.
No.
If you just live and breathe in Wilmington, know this is needed.
Yeah.
Like you said, if you build it, they will come. Like you've proven that. Like Trail House has proven that. Like people just want it. They don't need to do a case study. Just do it. You know?
No. And it's just, I have to think there has to be funds, and I don't know. I should research this, but there has to be community or state and federal funds for community health.
Well,
that can be utilized for that.
Kind of like in line with that, Corey Cockrell and the college, they have this plan to do a new equestrian center on Fife Road.
Okay.
So they have a plan, not just going through a process of getting it funded, and then build it in 2028, I think, or 2026. 2028. And so it's like, we just need a plan and then look for the funding and make it happen.
And they're doing another running track too, aren't they? Indoor out.
I'm not sure. You're right.
I heard that.
Something, yeah.
And that's another thing I didn't even talk about, but the amount of influence that equestrians made me think of this, but with the World Equestrian Center here, the amount of people that we get to come down here, our town's for sale.
Mhm.
and the amount of people that are coming here.
Yeah, to that point, when I was at that meeting with at the Chamber of Commerce and the Port Authority spoke, they said that if we have enough high executives that come here to work at companies, and if enough of them are not living here, they're going to be like, why do we have a company here for? Let's move the company where the executives are, It's like, it is for sale.
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, it may be fine today, but like at a certain point, people are like, well, just move it.
Yeah. And the positive things about our community, we have great people.
Mm-hmm.
We do have some great businesses. Like I said, the entertainment's there. It gets overlooked. But the things that we have that a lot of the surrounding communities do, like even Lebanon doesn't have, we have access to 2 great lakes, outdoor life, community. We have the World Equestrian Center. These are things that these surrounding communities don't have, that these surrounding communities come to our county to access. And, we're lacking a few things. If we can figure out the few things, like I said, the community rec center, some housing that would really take us to, hey, why not Wilmington? That's what I like to say. Is a lot.
Why not Wilmington?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's that. I like to see that on a billboard.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, why not Wilmington?
That's good.
Because it offers a lot more than just a place to work,
Yeah. We have a lot of, even more than what you said, we have like an air park, we have historic theater, we have a college here.
Yes.
Lebanon doesn't have those things.
I know.
I feel like if we could just bring them together, we could be freaking awesome,
Yeah. We got to sell it as a package deal.
Package deal.
and we're having everybody work together. And that's been my mentality with TinCap. I want people to come to TinCap. I need people to come to TinCap. But my whole thought process, and we do, I've even had people question me this. They're like, why do you promote other businesses and stuff?
Other bars even, yeah.
Even other bars.
Yeah.
On your page. And I was like, in my viewpoint, whatever's good for the downtown will eventually be good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not your thing, hey, I appreciate you trying us out. But there's so many other great things to do in the downtown or in Wilmington. So I like to promote other businesses. I'm definitely a patron of all the businesses. As we had that post out on Facebook. I don't know if you saw it.
I did. I think on Instagram, yeah.
But Tony from the Old Town Tavern and Travis, from the Escape. And it was a good night,
I mean, because it is kind of like a package deal, even people's experience. Like they go to TinCap first to get some food, and they might go to the Escape to have a little party, and then they end up at Old Town till in the night. So it's a package deal.
We train our bartenders even because we close even on the weekends. We close at 11, which the other places are open, and we train them. Hey, thanks for coming out. Go to Old Town. Go to the Escape if you want to continue the evening. We even say sometimes on the loudspeakers.
That's cool.
We get so many people come in from out of town, especially with the Equestrian Center now. So I always go through the spiel of all the places to go to in the downtown. Food wise, entertainment, whatever, and not just the downtown. I try to sell the whole community. So
yeah. Any closing thoughts before we end the podcast? You have Cider Fest coming up. I'm not sure this could be out before then, but what is Cider Fest?
So Cider Fest, that is there's been another Cider Fest in Ohio, but another brewery, March 1st, used to do a Cider Fest. And I've always wanted to do what's called a cider fest. So there's beer fests that are huge. Cider is not as well sought after as beer. So we're doing a Cider Fest. So at TinCap, we're going to have a first annual Cider Fest. We're going to have our regular 8 ciders where we're doing on tap. And then we'll have all the beers and everything that we always have on tap. So we have 16 taps inside and we have 20 taps outside. Those 2 main tap areas aren't going to change. But we are bringing in ciders from local Ohio makers. And we're going to have 14 other, is the plan to have 14 other ciders on tap. And we're going to have, we have another bar that we use, mobile bar, right on Sugar Tree in the corner there. We'll have a tap van out, which we'll have 4 ciders on. And then upstairs, a lot of people don't know, but we have 6 taps upstairs. So we'll have another 6 taps upstairs. And the thing is, we're going to, gives you a chance to try our ciders, other ciders, but we're also going to be making hard cider boiled brats with apple slaw, couple other things we're going to be making there food wise. I think we're going to have 2 bands. So we'll have a
indoor and outdoor, or just 2 bands?
Yes, the plan. I think we're going to have the big bands starting out, and they're coming from, is it Cincinnati or Columbus? But more of a R&B soul coming on, so they'll be playing, and then we'll have a local band playing on the inside. Starting I think 5. So it's just a way to kind of show off what we've done. We've been making a lot of changes to TinCap, so we've ordered some new equipment. We got that going. Definitely a time crunch. I'm not getting everything done that I need to get done, or that I wanted to get done in time, but
save it for the second annual.
Yeah. But I think that there's something that this goes well. I'd like to grow on it next year, and I think that maybe even then I'll start working with the downtown restaurants and stuff to say, hey, we're gonna have Cider Fest. If you'd like to be part of it, there's no cost or anything like that. But if you want to present, some kind of cider or apple-based dish or something like that would go with that.
And I'll do that at my market next year.
Yeah.
I'll have some kind of cider thing or another, so it can be on your cider trail.
Yeah. And then, we could do a day market or some other things with that as well, kind of extend it the whole time.
For sure.
So that's kind of my plan, is to kind of start this off this year. We're just going to feature the ciders, have music, food, and then...
do you have swag? Do you have a Cider Fest first annual t-shirt?
I should, but I don't.
You have time still. You have a few days.
Get them.
You have quality tea across the street.
It's true.
Get it done.
I don't know if they don't screen print, do they?
You don't want to not be able to memorialize the first annual Cider Fest.
Why not? So many things to do all the time. Well, yeah.
All right, thanks for being on the podcast. How can people connect with you if they want to get in touch?
I think the best way to get in touch with me is just come to TinCap and talk to me there. I'm usually running around doing stuff, but you can reach out to us on Facebook, and I'm sure we email. Does anybody email anymore? Facebook. Yeah.
You're always at TinCap, so just go to
TinCap.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, thanks for being on the podcast, and thanks for what you do to make Wilmington a better place to live.
Thank you, guys.
Well, that's it for our podcast today. I hope you enjoyed our interview with Jason Vaughan with the TinCap Hard Cider and BBQ. If you have any more questions for him or his wife, feel free to reach out to them directly. If they will talk to us dorks, they will certainly talk with you as well. After all, we are a community of empowered individuals. If you do want to get in touch with Real Change Wilmington, you can contact us on our website at realchangewilmington.com, visit our Facebook and Instagram pages, or grab a free copy of our local newspaper at Kroger, Sam's Meats, and Fiesta Veracruz. We also send our newspaper direct mail to over 2,500 Wilmington residents a month. So if you want to help us cover our printing costs and advertise your local business, event, or job posting, please email us at advertise@realchangewilmington.com. With that, I'm your host, Dustin Pierce. Keep it real, Wilmington.